Welcome to the ladies' session. I do enjoy our visits. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to see the new Incredibles yet. Anybody been there yet? Oh my gosh, okay, cool. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm so excited to see it. I'm usually a little behind the times on this. I didn't see the first one until like a year ago. I don't know what I was doing when it came out. I was probably stressed about starting college or something like that. But I am really excited about the new movie because what I can tell from the trailer is that it's all about Elastigirl, right? Yeah. That she is the face of this new PR campaign to try to endear the world to supers so that they can come out of hiding and ditch those secret identities once and for all. Sounds like the perfect job for a woman, right? We're here to charm you. We're here to smooth things over. We're here to look good. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today is our identity as women, as revealed by God. Because God, He has a plan for what it means to be masculine and feminine, a plan that we can know and follow in our lives or not. And there are a lot of places that we can look for our identity. God should be the place that we turn for it, right? That's probably something that you expect to hear from a person like me at a place like this. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, we can admit that there are a lot of other places we do turn for our identity. Sometimes we see ourselves as our grades, right? Our place on the team, our role in our family, where we are in our group of friends. If I would have asked you, who are you really? I'm sure you would tell me some of those things. If I'd asked you when you were 5, asked you again when you were 10, asked you again when you were 15, I'm sure those answers would change over time, right? And those things that we can talk about ourselves, they reveal a part of who we are for sure, but none of them are the sum of who we are. We're so much more than that. And in my own life, I know there have been times where I've been tempted to see myself as my GPA or my weight or my relationship status or how many of those little red hearts pop up on my Instagram, right? And I'm not just talking about when I was in high school or college, but even now, when I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I usually start it by introducing myself with what I do for a living and my relationships as a wife and a mother and my hobbies, my free time. Again, not bad things, but only a part of who I am, not the sum of who we are. There's all these other places that we're tempted to turn, and they sell us so short. The world, it's so good at reducing our identity. We take these complex, fascinating, beautiful human beings, and we turn them into how hot they look on Instagram, or their latest tweet, or who are you wearing? And I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe it's not that complicated. I guess if we are trying to figure out who we really are, we could just ask BuzzFeed, right? There's a whole section in their quizzes entitled, Who Are You? Yeah. And recently, I spent a little bit more time than I'd care to admit to you on my journey of self-discovery, taking those quizzes, and here is what I discovered. Build a stack of pancakes, and we'll reveal which Moana character you're most like, okay? Terrified that I was gonna find out that I was the crazy chicken rooster thing. Yeah, he's awesome. I don't wanna be him though, okay? Don't worry, I'm Moana. It's okay, it all came out all right, yeah. All right, how about this one? The trip you plan in Australia will reveal the first name of your soulmate. Please, no one tell my husband, David, but apparently I'm supposed to be with some dude named Ricardo, okay? I don't know any Ricardos, I'm not looking for any. All right, and this was my favorite one. Rate these bottled waters, and we will guess your height and gender, okay? So I, a 5'7" woman, apparently, based on my bottled water preference, should be a 6-foot-tall man. That makes sense. And then my 6-foot-tall husband also took the quiz, because he was curious, and got 5'7" woman. So go figure. I don't know how that's supposed to work out, all right? Look, if we're looking for our identity, if we're trying to figure out who we really are, we're not gonna find the answers online or in our relationships or our gifts and our talents. No, if we wanna know who we really are, we just have to ask God. He knows the best. And we should probably begin at the beginning. God reveals our feminine identity in the book of Genesis, in the second story of creation in Genesis 2. Now, the first story of creation in Genesis 1 is also awesome. That's the story of how God made everything cooler and cooler and cooler, and then he didn't stop with man, but went on to the crown of his creation, woman. Okay, I like that one. It's a great story. But the second story is what I want to talk about today, because the second story in Genesis 2, it's less focused on how God made everything, and it's more tuned in on us. on what it means to be human. See, we live in a world that's marked by sin and its consequences, but God has a plan for us, how he wanted things to be, and we can find out a lot about it in Genesis 2. Now, the purpose of these stories in Genesis, it's not so much to give us a play-by-play of literally what happened, okay? How could it when we have two different stories? But rather, it just tells us God's original intention. And if we listen to these stories, really tune into what God's trying to tell us, then we can be what he created us to be if we follow what he wants for us. So, a quick refresher on the story, if it's been a while for you, all right? God made man from the dust, breathed into his nostrils, and then put him in the Garden of Eden with all the plants and all the animals. And then God realizes that it is not good for the man to be alone. Now, when God's making everything, remember, it is good, it is good, it is good. Man being alone, it's the first thing that is not good. So he puts Adam back to sleep, he takes out one of his ribs, and then he makes Adam and he makes Eve, right? So Adam and Eve, they both wake up, and then Adam makes this lovely little speech that you might want read on your wedding one day, where he says, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of her man she has been taken." Okay, maybe not. Yeah, I know. Before we get all worked up about being taken out of man, like we're some kind of afterthought, there's more that we need to do. We need to look a little closer and actually learn a little bit of Hebrew, okay? See, first, when God makes man, the actual word in Hebrew that he uses is Adam. It looks a lot like the name Adam, which is where it comes from. But that word Adam in Hebrew, it's not best translated as dude or bro, okay? But better said as first person or earth creature or simply human being, okay? So when God's going to make Adam, it's after God says, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." So God, who is not just one person, but is three persons in one, right? Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God exists in this community of persons. And so when God makes Adam in his image and likeness, he exists in a community of persons. But Adam, in his humanity, he has this experience of being lonely, which is not something God experiences in his divinity. And again, this loneliness is the first thing that is not good. So when God recognizes that Adam is not okay, he puts Adam back to sleep, and then we never see that word Adam again. The Hebrew changes. When Adam and Eve wake up, we get these two new words, ish and isha, which mean man and woman. So Adam, fully in the image and likeness of God, gone. Now we have Ish and Isha, both in the image and likeness of God. Same human dignity, same human value, same everything, just embodied in different ways as a man and as a woman. And it's a really interesting part of the story, important to notice, because this Adam speech that he makes, right, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, he's recognizing in Eve his exact same human dignity. It's just embodied in a different way. So men and women are different. And we hate that word different, don't we? Because when we hear the word different, we just start ranking stuff. It's sort of like Coke and Pepsi, right? They are kind of similar, but they're definitely different, and they are not the same, right? For sure, not equal. I don't know about you. I don't think they are, okay? And we certainly have a long way to go when it comes to women's equality in this world. In our culture, in our world today, women make up about half of the workforce. But on average, we earn 20% less than men for doing the exact same jobs. Women are promoted less often. They only make up about 15% of company executives and 8% of the top earners. Okay? In our healthcare system, women on average pay about a third more for their healthcare, but they only live an average of 7 years longer. And maybe you ladies have heard of something called the pink tax, where women's products like razors and shampoo and body wash, they can cost up to 50% more than men's, even though it's the same size, it's the same contents, it's the same everything. The only difference is that one is pink and smells like fruit, and the other one is gray and smells like a Cool Rush, whatever that means, okay? So all of these differences, they add up to women earning less money while paying more for products over a longer lifetime. It costs a lot to be born a woman in our world. But even though it costs a lot to be born a woman in our world, it doesn't mean it's better to be born a man, okay? We're living in a broken world. We can and we should speak out against these injustices by thinking twice about how we spend our money, how we approach education or business or politics, right? We have a lot to contribute to this world, and But being a man is not a better thing. It's just not. We're equal in our embodiment, equal in our dignity, different in our embodiments. I don't know what you ladies know about the female body, probably less than you should given the fact that we're living in them, but it's amazing, okay? And our world has this tendency to both idolize and demean our bodies at the exact same time. We idolize our bodies. We're hyper-focused on our fitness and our fashion and our appearance, right? We spend all of our time stressing about how big or small parts of our body are, how curvy or how flat, how hairless, how tan, how made up, right? We spend hours dressing and shopping for and grooming these bodies, and we idolize other women whose bodies look like what we wish ours could be. Idolized, but also demeaned. We don't take care of these bodies, right? We don't eat right or drink enough water or get enough sleep, right? We despise our fertility because periods are messy and sometimes painful and generally inconvenient, and what the heck, why don't guys have to deal with this, okay? We have sometimes not taken the best care of our bodies through the ways that we treat them. I'm sure there are women in this room of all ages who have at times hated their bodies. Or women in this room who have dressed to show off their breasts or their bellies or their legs or their butts, highlighting parts instead of the person, right? Women in this room who have abused their bodies through drugs or alcohol, through cutting, through eating disorders, through immoral sexual activity. We don't take care of these bodies that we have. And these bodies, they are a gift from God. Your body, it's not just a shell for your soul. That's actually a heresy that was made popular by a guy named Manichaeus, okay? Jesus is the Word made flesh. When he came down to this earth, he didn't just put on a man suit for 33 years, but his body and soul, they're one, and so are ours. Our bodies and souls are connected. It's why we say in our creed that we believe in the resurrection of the body. One day, your body is going to go to heaven, and you will be able to physically give Jesus a hug. That's so cool, right? Your body's a really big deal, and we like to act like it's not because we have such a hard time with it. Remember, our bodies, they're these outward signs that reveal our inner person. God puts you into a female body on purpose, for a purpose. Every single cell of your body is different than every single cell of a man's body, okay? At conception, from the moment that you begin to exist, boys and girls in utero, they look kind of the same until about 7 weeks along. And that's usually right after a woman finds out she's pregnant. And at about 7 weeks of fetal development, mom's body releases this chemical, this hormone called testosterone, and it washes over the baby. Now, us girls with our double X chromosomes, it doesn't do anything to us. But the boys with their Y chromosomes signal this testosterone to, well, for lack of a better word, cause brain damage, okay? No need to laugh. Okay, it's pretty funny. But yeah, it changes the way that men's brains work. So men have what is called a lateral brain, and women, we have what is called a bilateral brain. So our brains have more and larger connecting fibers between the two sides of our hemispheres, which makes us awesome at stuff like multitasking, like Paul was talking about last night with his wife in labor, having a conversation, okay? It also makes us really good at being detail-oriented, okay? Our ovaries, they develop by the end of the first trimester, and a baby girl is born with a lifetime supply of unfertilized eggs. Ultrasound techs can tell if a baby is a boy or a girl about halfway through a pregnancy, and if a mom and a dad decide that they want to be surprised on the baby's gender, it's the first thing that's said about us when we're born. Our bodies are a really big deal, and this is where it can get kind of confusing, because there are men and women in this world who do not identify with the sex of their bodies, right? Men and women of all ages who feel like they were put into the wrong body. In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner was introduced to the world on the cover of Vanity Fair. In January of last year, National Geographic cited a gender revolution talking about transgender children around the world. Gender dysphoria, which is the psychological term for people who feel like they were born in the wrong body, and transgendered is the preferred term of persons who see themselves this way. These are not new issues, okay? Even though it seems like right now it's all anybody wants to talk about. And while it's a small percentage of the population who struggles with these issues, it's not a small number of people. And even if it were only one, Jesus would still leave the 99 to go after them. This is a big deal. And for our brothers and sisters who are wrestling with this, There's a million varied and hard to describe factors that might contribute to why somebody would feel this way. And there's as many opinions on how to best proceed. But the church knows that God does not make mistakes. God does not put the wrong person into the wrong body. He knows what he's doing. Our bodies are made on purpose. Our bodies and souls are one, and our bodies do not lie to us. The reality of our being created, male or female, it has something to do with how God wants to make us saints. It has something to do with how God wants to reveal himself to the world through us. So to the people who are experiencing this confusion, and maybe it's some of you in this room, or maybe it's someone you love, one of your good friends, somebody in your family, you are not alone in your confusion. Your hurt is real, your pain is real, your struggle is real, and the church aches with you. Okay, you are seen, you are known, you are loved, you are not outcast, you are not dismissed. There's a place here for you. And if this is something that you're walking through right now, either in your own life, in your own heart, or with someone you care about, I'm gonna beg you to also talk to a trusted adult about what's going on. Maybe it's one of your parents, maybe it's your youth minister, or a counselor at school, or a teacher you trust, or your priest. I don't care who you talk to, just talk to somebody, because no one should have to walk down this journey alone. There's so much confusion in our world. I know in my own life, there have been times where I have been frustrated or unsatisfied with my body, times I've disliked it, but I've never felt like it wasn't mine. Like, I don't know what it means to feel like a man. I don't. But honestly, I don't know that I could tell you that I understand what it means to feel like a woman. I know that I'm a woman, okay? I understand that. My body reveals it to me. The fact that my body is currently housing another body reveals it to me. I am sure that I am a woman, and as a woman, you know what? There are things that I really enjoy. I love going and getting my nails done, and I love going shopping, and I love wandering around a Hobby Lobby for 4 hours and buying nothing, okay? I love it. It's awesome, okay? But you know what else I like? I like wearing pants, and I like watching baseball, and I like eating steak, okay? I like refinishing furniture, and I like building it from scratch. There are things that I like that are traditionally masculine, things I like that are traditionally feminine. I do not like cooking or cleaning, okay? I hate those things. Oh my gosh, they're not my thing. I don't. But you know what? I really do like baking. Again, there's things that are masculine, things that are feminine. None of these arbitrary gender stereotypes have anything to do with my identity as a woman. And I know that I'm not the only person who feels that way. Check this out.
And this is what I realized, very important. Guys, listen up. All we ever do when all the guys are together, we make fun of things that women do. Oh, the spa treatments. Oh, the romantic comedies. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. 2 weeks ago, I got a pedicure. Changed my life, okay? What? I always make fun of everything women do, but at first I'm like, this is incredible. Every time. Oh, a girl would drink that drink, but it tastes delicious, okay? And more fruit in this thing, okay? It's amazing. And all my buddies are like, oh, dude, you're not a real man. You gotta go get a pedicure. I'm like, excuse me, okay. Let me just break this down for you. There's no more manly activity on earth than a pedicure, okay? You're sitting on a throne, okay? Being massaged by a machine here, while a woman that doesn't speak your foreign language is sitting on the floor massaging your feet. You're like one step away from being like, more grapes, please. You're like an Egyptian pharaoh in a brookstone. It's incredible. I'll get one of those things every day of the week. All my buddies like, oh, dude, look at John, dude. You gonna wear that purple sweater that your girl bought for you? Yeah, I am. I don't think I should be taking fashion advice from a guy that's wearing Coors Light Crocs right now, okay? Makes no sense. And they were like, dude, it's bro night. We're gonna watch a movie. You wanna come over at guys night? I'm like, no, I'm gonna go to Vanessa's house, okay? We're gonna watch Love Actually. It's a fantastic film. I'm not gonna sit on a urine-stained futon with you dudes trying to fart the alphabet, okay? No. Absolutely not. Like, what are you guys gonna watch? I'm like, we're gonna watch The Notebook. I'm like, The Notebook. Oh, that would never happen in real life. It's like, excuse me, I didn't know Godzilla was based on a true story.
Oh my gosh. I mean, he's not wrong, right? Yeah. So, men and women are different, but these differences, they're powerful and they're beautiful. It all goes back to that Ish and Isha thing from Genesis. Adam was wholly in the image and likeness of God, but it was not good for Adam to be alone. And so now both Ish and Isha, we present who God is to the world. Our problem, I think, is not that Eve was made from Adam. I think our problem is that our image of God is too small, okay? God is not a man. There are things that men reveal about who God is that we women can't. That's true. But no man can encompass all that God is. He's too limited, all right? And someone needs to call Ariana and tell her that God is also not a woman, okay? Both Ish and Isha, we both image and likeness God in beautiful ways. And as women, there are things we tell the world about God that men can't, okay? God is nurturing. God can do difficult things. God loves beauty. God can multitask, okay? He can pay attention to all of us at the exact same time. He's good that way, right? We women, we show these things that are so cool. Like women who are pregnant and nursing mothers, they image Jesus' words at the Last Supper. This is my body, take and eat. This is my body given up for you. We women portray that in a way that no man ever could. We reveal these truths about who God is. And all women do this, regardless of if they ever become physical mothers or not. All women are called to spiritual motherhood. All women have this eye for the vulnerable and the needy and the weak, right? Like I hand my little girl, my 1-year-old, her baby doll. I know, okay. I hand her baby doll, and you know what she does? She picks it up, and she hugs it, and she pats its back, and she gives it kisses. And I don't have to tell her to do this. She just does, okay? In fact, I was at another conference last week getting ready to give this same talk, and I got this video of her from home. Check this out. Just rocking that baby in her little fast food pajamas because she's mine. Yeah, okay, great. Now I take my 3-year-old nephew and I hand him that exact same baby doll, and you know what he does with it? Turns it upside down and makes it jump on its head, okay? And I say, hey bud, maybe do you want to give the doll a hug? Do you want to give it a kiss? And he kind of looks at me and he goes, we're different, okay? We're different from the start, but it's good, it's beautiful. The world needs both of these things. And the world suffers when we despise our femininity and we deny these gifts. See, culture has this idea that being just a girl is a terrible thing. Have you ever seen a disappointed dad at a gender reveal party when the confetti pops pink? Pray for those men. They have no idea what a gift it is to be able to raise a strong woman in this world. Maybe they don't know because they haven't experienced it, I'm not sure. But they don't understand how beautiful it is. See, the world says that the best way for women to advance is to make them more like men. The world would remove us of our feminine gifts and talents, which is a loss for our culture, right? Culture says, oh my gosh, women, if you want to succeed, then you know what you need? You need options, right? Because men, they can't get pregnant. So if women want to get there, then we have to give them things like contraception and abortion. When in reality, the practice of both of those things has hurt women in every way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? Since the pill was put on the market in the 60s, as a culture, we've seen a rise in things like divorce and single-parent families, abortions, sex trafficking, pornography, all these things that are bad for families, that are bad for women. Culture also says if women want to get ahead, they need to deny their feelings, right? Men are demeaned for showing those stereotypical feminine qualities like having feelings, okay? I don't know why that's a bad thing. If a man wants to insult another man, he says that he fights or plays or throws like a girl. We women are expected to deny our emotions if we want to get ahead. We need to be bossy. We need to be manipulative. We need to be cold, right? If we want to make it in the professional world, then we're expected to delay having children until it's almost too late or just remain childless. See, empathy, concern for others, sensitivity, these qualities that are viewed as inherent weaknesses, they're actually many of our greatest strengths. Sojourner Truth, who was a Civil War activist and a women's rights activist, said, "If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the whole world upside down all alone, these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again." See, the key to fixing so many of the inequities we talked about earlier, it's putting women in the room. That gender pay gap we talked about earlier, it's lower in companies where women are among the decision makers. Women are often at the forefront of opening health clinics and hospitals and schools. Women religious run orphanages and nursing homes and preschools. They take care of people. Women's unique perspective changes the conversation. Every living former First Lady has publicly come out against the separation that was happening at the border of the US and Mexico, and they were mostly out in front of their husbands in doing so. We women have this perspective that the world desperately needs. Venerable Fulton Sheen, who was an American archbishop and a TV radio evangelist, he said that the level of any civilization is always the level of its womanhood. When women succeed, the world succeeds. And the church wants women to succeed in all of their callings. St. Pope John Paul II, who was a saint and a pope, so smart guy, knew what he was talking about. In 1995, he wrote this letter to women. I would really encourage you to go check it out, read it sometime. It's beautiful. And in this letter, here's what he said. "Much needs to be done to prevent discrimination against those who have chosen to be wives and mothers. There is an urgent need to achieve real equality in every area, equal pay for equal work, protection for working mothers, fairness in career advancements, equality of spouses with regard to family rights." Pope John Paul II, he wrote that letter over 20 years ago, and the need is just as urgent today. We're still lacking equality in a lot of those areas, and our femininity, it's a powerful force that the world has grossly underestimated, and it's time to right the ship, okay? Now, none of this is to say that women are good and men are bad. Please do not take that this way, okay? When you head off to lunch and you rejoin the men from your group, please do not ambush them with a roar, okay? That's not what we're saying today. No, it's not that women are good and men are bad. It's that women are good and men are good. Both Ish and Isha. We image God in this world. We're both necessary. We just embody God in different ways. And the reality of our different embodiments show us that men and women need each other. And this is a really hard one for me, okay? Because I hate to need anything, right? I can do it all by myself. Don't you dare try to help me, okay? This is a struggle that I have in my life, but we do need each other. See, our physical embodiments, the differences between men and women, show us that we're incomplete on our own. We're lacking something on our own. And so it's only when Ish and Isha come together that we get that full image of God, that we show the world who he really is by being on a team. We complement each other. Our ability to multitask can help men see things that they wouldn't otherwise. Their ability to focus can help us to get things done. Why do you think the show Fixer Upper was so popular, right? Anybody love that show like I did? Oh my gosh, right. Joanna had the vision, Chip helped make it happen, and together they made something beautiful. Remember when you were in arts class in like second grade and your teacher threw up a picture of the color wheel, okay? And you learned about complementary colors, right? So blue and yellow and purple and orange. No, that's wrong. Blue and orange and purple and yellow. Okay, right. And so what I loved about this lesson in art class is that when you put those complementary colors side by side, they intensify one another. Everything is more vibrant, more alive, more beautiful, right? But when you mix those colors together, they're dulled. The same is true of masculinity and femininity. When we put them side by side, this world is more powerful and beautiful and alive. Pope John Paul said it this way: it is only through the duality of the masculine and the feminine that the human finds full realization. We do this together. And it's kind of like what we saw with our heroes in The Incredibles. And this movie is 14 years old, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say that in the end, the entire family comes together to save the day, right? The mom, the dad, the daughter, the sons. Everyone is necessary. Everyone has a part to play in the story. This is a gospel vision. This is how God intended our world to function. As we read in Genesis, JP2 says that man and woman share equal responsibility from the start. Dominion isn't just given to Adam, but it's given to Adam and Eve together. And when they work together to exercise that common dominion, incredible things can happen. I think part of where it all went wrong maybe is in the same scripture stories when God says it is not good for Adam to be alone, and so I will make a helper for him. Now that word helper, okay, does not mean cook or maid. Let's be very clear about that, okay? And in fact, that same word helper, it's used also in the Psalms and in the book of Exodus to refer to God. So being a helper is actually being like God. But part of where people can misinterpret this story is it's not just that Eve is there to help Adam, but they're supposed to help each other. God says to both of them to take care of this earth, right? They share equal responsibility from the start. They're called to work together. That's part of where things go wrong in the fall. When the serpent hands the fruit to Eve, and she takes it, and then she gives it to her husband who was with her. He was supposed to help her in that moment, and he didn't. And that's part of why things fall apart. And so for us to best be able to do our part in making this world a better place, we have to embrace the part that God has created for us. He doesn't want us to be Mr. Incredible, okay? He's not asking us to be Mr. Anything. Our feminine hearts, bodies, minds, and souls, they are perfectly equipped, exactly as they are, to make a real impact on this world, to change things for the better, okay? One more from JP2, because he's so good as we wrap up. He says, the life of the church in the third millennium will certainly not be lacking in new and surprising manifestations of the feminine genius. He's talking about you. And JP2 never chose his words carelessly. There is something beautiful and powerful in the way that you were created as a woman. And the church and the world, they need that genius now more than ever. In the history of our church, we have had incredible women role models like St. Teresa of Avila, St. Catherine of Siena, St. Therese of Lisieux, and St. Hildegard. All four of these women are doctors of the church, which means they are saints who are specifically recognized for their contributions to theology and dogma. These are brilliant, holy women, all right? Or how about St. Gianna Molla, who was a Catholic pediatrician who was pregnant with her fourth child, and she had some health complications that endangered her life. She was told to abort that child to save her life, and she refused. So that child was born, St. Gianna passed away from those complications, and now that child is a grown woman, a doctor in and of herself, who travels around the world sharing her mother's story. Or St. Teresa of Calcutta. I'm so honored that we have some missionaries of charity here with us today. I think that is so beautiful. Thank you for your yes. St. Teresa of Calcutta, who followed God's call within a call to start an order of missionary sisters who serve the poorest of the poor around the world. We have a group of missionaries of charity in St. Louis, and I am honored whenever I get to be with them because the work they do is so beautiful and so valuable. And St. Teresa did all of this while experiencing great spiritual darkness for decades. Or St. Joan of Arc, who led armies into battle, literally saved a nation as a teenager. She was 19 when she died, right? She was so heroic, so brave. Her courage on the battlefield changed the course of history. Or of course, we cannot forget our Blessed Mother, right? Who was another heroic teenager. And her yes brought the Savior of the world into being. Ask these saints to pray for you. Look to their example. They're not here necessarily for imitation, okay? I don't think we're at war with England or France right now. I haven't checked the news since I started talking. Maybe that's changed, okay? But these women, they're here for inspiration. If they could do it, why not you? What's stopping you? You have everything you need. God has given it to you as a woman. And your feminine genius can change the course of history.